Jerry Mallory here for SB Nation and Pride of Detroit.com. They say the draft is the Lions Super Bowl, and if that's the case, it's early. We've got some more picks to make, but I'd be comfortable to say start planning the parade. We're here to talk about big man Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon, going to his favorite team, the Detroit Lions. How do we get here? What does this mean for the Lions, the future, their philosophy, the whole team concept? And then we'll look at a couple of guys to consider for day two. So, pick number 7, Penei Sewell. At one point, especially as he was first coming into his tenure there at Oregon, was a surefire top 2 or 3 pick, a generational talent, generational tackle, a can't-miss prospect. So how did he end up at 7? Now, 7 isn't a huge fall. That's still a top 10 pick, and he was still the first offensive tackle taken off the board. So I'm not acting like this is an Aaron Rodgers type of situation, but it is good to get one of the generational type talents there at the back half of the top 10. So first things first, team need, team availability, it really played into the favor of the Lions. Now, a lot of people are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Protect Joe Burrow. Why did they not go with Penei Sewell? Well, one thing to consider, they just spent a top pick a few years ago on Jonah Williams, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So, perhaps they saw a bigger need to give Joe Burrow a weapon. And if you look at the top 6 teams, sure, all of them could use Penei Sewell, but offensive line wasn't as great a need as most years, especially when many of them needed a quarterback, and as we know, quarterback is king. So situationally, landing Penei Sewell in the top 7, a little bit of fortune on the hands of the Lions. Now, the next point is a draft, the thing that just happens year after year. Guys play. They do their bowl games in January, and they're considered, top 5 pick. And then you have paralysis by analysis. Now, granted, getting a closer look at guys is good. Sometimes you see things where they're better than you thought, they're worse than you thought. I'm not saying to not analyze these guys, but I think in the case of Penei Sewell, I think in the case of Justin Fields, I think last year in the case of Justin Herbert, these guys were considered top 5 picks. Some of them pick number 1 or pick number 2. Based off of what they did on the field, and nothing really changes. Sometimes they maybe come back an extra year like Herbert. Herbert didn't really do anything to hurt his stock. A few guys did look a little bit better like Joe Burrow, but you start overanalyzing these guys. Every prospect has an issue. So Penei Sewell, all the accolades, the awards that he was given, nothing really changed from that standpoint of him being considered a top 2 or 3 pick. So maybe it's overanalyzing things. At no point was Rashawn Slater really considered a better prospect than Sewell, and I'm not saying he won't be, and I get looking further into things, even the athletic testing. I'm not trying to dog Rashawn Slater, but at some point, is it overanalyzing? Now these two guys are neck and neck, and some have Slater over Sewell. Quite possibly so. But either way, no matter why it happened or how it happened, we're here, and I think most of us are happy to have Penei Sewell. Now, what does this mean for the team going forward? Well, it does give us a clear vision. They came in saying how they felt about Jared Goff. They just traded for him. Was it a throw-in? Well, I don't think a lot of us thought that, especially with Brad Holmes being in LA, but the proof is in the pudding. You can say this, that, and the other thing, but then at 7, if you pull the trigger on Justin Fields or Mac Jones, well, that confidence that you talked about having in him, maybe it wasn't as strong as you were relaying. I think this sends a clear message. We know the successes that Jared Goff had with a good offensive line, with a good run game. Penei Sewell adds that. Just think back a few years with the LA Rams. Andrew Whitworth comes in. He solidifies the left side of that offensive line. Todd Gurley takes off. Jared Goff has a great year, and they make it to the Super Bowl. This buys Jared Goff, I would say 1 year. 1 year of, hey, this is your job. You are the guy. You have a whole year to prove yourself, sink or swim. Now, something can happen in day 2. If we look at a quarterback that early, well, maybe Goff's security isn't as strong as we thought. But overall, I think passing on to Justin Fields, passing on to Mac Jones sends a message. Yes, Jared Goff, you are going to get the opportunity to prove yourself here. And if you think about it, that really is the best case scenario. Now, whether you think Jared Goff will be that quarterback or not, if we had to paint the perfect scenario, we have the quarterback here. It would be Jared Goff turning things around. He's 26 years old. He's under contract for a few years, and we wouldn't have to spend a high draft pick on a quarterback again. Keep in mind, we've got 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years, barring any trades. So if we could fill out other areas and Jared Goff is the quarterback, That's the best case scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I have my own thoughts about Jared Goff and his skill level, whether I think he could be the guy. But let's admit it. That's what we want to happen. And he's going to get an opportunity to prove just that in this season coming up. Now, before we get out of here, day 2, we still have those needs at linebacker. We could use a nickel, cornerback. We can obviously use a wide receiver. So who are some guys that I would like to see? I think Elijah Moore is a no-brainer. I'm not, breaking the mold or doing a hot take. I mean, if Elijah Moore is available, you pick him, you don't look back. I like Rondale Moore a lot as well. The injuries are a concern, but prior to the injuries, his start there in Purdue was absolutely phenomenal, to the point where he probably would have been, if healthy and if the production stays similar, he would have been right there with Jalen Waddle. He would have been right there with Devontae Smith, and maybe even right there with Jamar Chase. So if the medical checks out, if they pick him, that means they're comfortable. I'd be ecstatic for him as well. We still got some linebackers there. You got Bolton, you got Warner. But nickel cornerback is a low-key need. Keep an eye out for Asante Samuel Jr., someone I like a lot, and then obviously safety. All the safeties are still there. So if you like Morik, if you like Richie Grant, if you like Javon Holland, this is the beauty. To me, obviously, having top 10 pick is great in the first round, but I really love being able to wrap right back around early in the second round, because it almost feels like you got 2 first-round picks when you keep in mind the talent that doesn't get drafted in the first round. And of course, at linebacker, you've got J.O.K. No, I'm not going to pronounce his name. So that's going to do it, guys. That's just my 2 cents on Penei Sewell. If you guys look out for this upcoming day here, day 2, I will be back after day 2 with my reaction. So far, we've got 3 picks. Let's make the most of them. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching, as always. And until tomorrow, this has been Jerry Mallory for SB Nation and PrideofDetroit.com.